if you're interested in doing 35th scale, then these are a great start on learning how to paint figures too. Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies, and today I'm going to be having a closer look at one of these dragon kits. It's not a particularly new kit, but I thought this is quite interesting. It's something that I worked on quite a bit when they first got released. So this is back in the heydays of Dragon in the 90s and 2000s, so this was mid 90s. 1/16 scale plastic injected kit of a figurine. Now at that time, I guess prior to that, Verlinden would have been very, very big, and they had a lot of resin 1/16 scale kits. So resin kits are very, very nice, but they are quite expensive. So quite makes sense for Dragon at the time, being one of the most prevalent new kit manufacturers, to make an injection kit of a figure. And they did a really good job too. So they made maybe 10 in the series, and then basically they stopped adding to it. You will be able to find some more 16 scale kits in Tamiya as well, and also I think Mini Art has done some as well, but not as popular as they once used to be. But they're still a very nice kit nevertheless. So let's have a closer look at the box. Okay, so here we go. This is a Sturmbannfuhrer from World War II, German of course. He's wearing the camouflage outfit there. So it's quite late in the war, being Ardennes 1944. This was one of the last major offensives that was performed by the Germans before the end of the war. So hence being late, he's wearing quite late uniform. It's sort of a mishmash of different things. So he's got a smock, and then he's got the later Sturmgewehr 44 assault rifle there, and then also the short boots, because they stopped wearing jack boots, although jack boots were still heavily around, just because they were running out of materials like the leather. Okay, so on the side we have pictures of the actual finished model. You see how it comes with a little plinth, so that's included as well. And then there's a couple of the others in the series. Okay, so let's open up and have a close look inside. Okay, so it's a fairly well spaced out box. The box itself is quite a lot larger than the kit itself. That's mainly to fit the plinth, because the plinth is quite deep. And then the plastic components are basically on a couple of sprue here. All right, let's move this across. Let's put this over here. All right, so let's have a quick look at the plinth. Okay, so plinth, or basically a stand, that's included with each of these 16 scale figures. And it's very similar to the one that the Kirin used to have in their resin kits. So at the time, Kirin was Dragon's aftermarket or resin brand, and they had quite a number of 16 scale figures too. So you got this, you got a flat section here where you can actually put a name. I think you can make a little bit of groundwork here and have your figure stand on there by itself, or you can quite easily make your own stand as well. But that's quite a nice touch. So plastic injected molded stand, very much like a wooden plinth. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's look at the actual plastic components for the figure. Okay, so there's actually 3 sprue. There's 19 parts in all. And as you can imagine, due to you're having 2-piece molds for injection molding, the figure is made up of multiple parts, because you can't get any undercutting. But they've done very well with all these the wrinkles and such. Now obviously with a injection molded kit, most of the details are going to be on the face. Okay, so the top section and the bottom section. The sides are going to diminish a little bit, because that's where the mold has to be able to pull out smoothly, and usually these areas here are a bit smoother and blander. Okay, so you might be able to see here how it's got a multiple cut, and then they've cut around these ridges here for the folds in the leg, just so they will overlap on the other side. So very clever method of cutting up the figure in its half, because usually they'll just be straight, and if it was straight, you'll miss out on all these little details. Okay, so we've got the main sprue with the main components of the figure. So you've got the torso and leg halves, the head here, and we'll get a closer look at the head in a minute, because that's really well done. The peak cap in multiple parts, the hands in multiple parts as well, and then you start getting the magazine in multiple parts, and the boots are separate. Over here we have the separate MP44 as I've described here, or the STG-44, which is a Sturmgewehr, which is one of the first assault weapons ever designed, and that came out late in the war. And you can see the similarity of this with the AK-47, because AK-47 derived quite a few ideas from this particular weapon. And then over here we have some of the accessories. You got the map case, and then also a set of binoculars with the eyepiece cover. Okay, I'm going to zoom in now and we'll have a closer look. All right, let's go here. All right, so this is the main sprue, and let's just have a look at the body for the moment. Okay, so generally with injection molding, it's preferable to have thinner parts. Okay, so that's why this is all hollowed out. Now that's done simply because not only just to save material, but when the hot plastic cools, it does shrink a little bit, and with the shrinkage you can get warpage as well. Okay, but so other things like the head is actually solid, and the arms are solid. Okay, but huge parts like this have made hollow. Okay, so you can see there. Okay, so this is an easier way to see how I was talking about the how the wrinkles have been cut with particular angles to maintain their integrity. So that's very clever. Okay, so I guess different to a resin cast figure, I mean this would normally be cast all in one piece, which means you only have to deal with some mold lines, and the mold lines will probably be in a similar sort of section because we'll get 2-pass mold. But with these, there'll probably be a little bit of filling involved too, because you won't get an absolute perfect join, so there will be some slight gaps. You can see from the actual moldings, actually very clear, so you can see the scarf here. It's nicely tied, and then at the back, you can see the little hoops there. So these are the sewn-in hoops that were used on the smock, and the troops used to put foliage and just slip them in there to give some more camouflage. Let's have a close look at the face. So the face is the first thing I'll look at on a figure. If the face doesn't look right and needs a lot of work, then I'll basically let that go. Or if the rest of the figure is really good and the face is no good, then I'll consider replacing the face with a better sculpted one. You can see there for a kit which is, what is this? This is basically close to 30 years old. It's impeccable. And then for a 30-year-old kit, you can see there's hardly any sprue. Okay, so the molds are already cut very, very well. And you see the boots here. The boots have been cut with the join like so, because that's the overflow of the pants. And then you see the soles of the shoes there. I lost it. There we go. Soles of the shoes. So soles of the shoes are flat, and this probably gives you a good indication of what I'm talking about with shrinkage. Okay, so these are molded solid, and you can see that that indentation. That's due to the material shrinking. Okay, so probably don't need to worry about that because that's going to be mounted directly onto a surface. But if that was anywhere else, you'll probably need to fill that in. And if that was the case, you may lose some detail. Okay, here's the pointing hand in multiple pieces, just so you can get the shape right. The peak cap, you can see the peak is just in this section here. The actual top of it is over here. There's two locating holes there. Just make sure you get that right. You can see it's got the really nice folds in the fabric. Okay, so as we go here, we've got the Sturmgewehr magazine pouches. So they're curved and big. There's the other hand which is holding the map, and the thumb to go with that. Got some nice molded details in the top of that peak cap. So you've got the eagle there. And then on the arms you can see they're molded in one piece, and you can see some really faint mold lines, but they're really quite small. You can just see that there, and coming close to the elbow. It doesn't need to be scraped back and a little bit of sanding, and they'll be all good. And again, you can see that surface detail. There's some more hoops there for the foliage. And then again on the other arm as well, you can see the hoops across the top there. I guess the belt is really nice too. You can see all the actual, what would you call those? Are they the the pins or the latches that go through the holes in the belt, and then you got the multiple holes in the belt too, the twin. Even the really fine string that's used for lacing up the front of the smock, that's all visible as well. Okay, so from here, let's move on to the Sturmgewehr. Okay, you can see how finely detailed that is. Even down to the ribbing of the pressing of the magazine. And then on the other side, it's all very clean as well. Including the where the strap will go. Okay, so that's a Sturmgewehr. And then on the last sprue we have here, we've got the map case. So that's the map case there. Very standard issue German map case. And the binoculars. And then there's the eyepiece covers as well, which you can either mount onto here or leave them hanging, I guess. Okay, so that's all the plastic components. So let's have a look at the manual now. I'll move these out of the way. And as you can imagine, the manual is going to be really simple. Okay, so it's blank on the back, it's only one side here. So it's a simplified version of the artwork on the front of the box with it mounted on the plinth. And this is the painting instructions with, you've got the color charts here for Mr. Hobby. So the H numbers for their water-based range. And then there's the C type ones, which is their lacquer range. This is the actual assembly diagram. So these are the numbers of the components and then where they fit. And then you also have a printed map. So you can just cut that out, fold it and place it in his hand. So that's it. So even though they don't have a lot, I mean, I guess 19 parts is a lot for a particular figure, but it is a very nicely sculpted figure. And if you're interested in doing 35th scale, then these are a great start on learning how to paint figures too. Simply because the bigger size allows you a bit more leeway, allows you to concentrate more on the details on faces and skin tones. And then once you get used to it doing it on a bigger one, and these aren't particularly expensive, you'll be able to achieve that effect on a 35th scale one quite easily. These German figures are quite good too, because with the later scheme, it gets you the opportunity to practice painting all the different camouflages. So these SS style camouflages were quite unique, and they are quite a challenge to paint. So doing it on a bigger one and then applying it onto a smaller 35th scale figure is also a good learning curve. Okay, so that's it. That's my open box review of the Sturmbannfuhrer in 1/16 scale from Dragon. Now, it's not a particularly new kit, but it's still very good. Quite readily available now, they reissued them, and there are quite a few in the range. So give it a go.